Good morning, today we have a Spade review on the T2 Swedish Floatplane bomber. This is one of the two new props added as part of the new Sons of Attila update. Obviously, for those that are curious, I am going to start grinding the Hungarian tanks before anyone is curious. There will be reviews on at least most of them that have been added in. So the T2 is a HE115A, I believe it is. It seems to be an A, judging by the armament. And this is perfectly fine for me, because I don't mind earlier variants of a plane. But I definitely think that they've definitely, half-assed this. There's no polite way of putting it, really. But before I get into more detail, in the description below, there's going to be a few timestamps. If you want to jump ahead to the Spade Table, so you can see how the matches went, or if you just want to skip ahead to the gameplay, do so in the description below. The timestamps are there. Without further ado, let's get into the Hangar Section review of this aircraft and cover its, shall we say, interesting features. So the T2, of course, being a 115 seaplane, is, of course, amphibious, as you can tell by the water around us right now. And it is definitely an aircraft that does have some good metrics. It's surprisingly maneuverable for what it is. It's not the toughest, unfortunately. It does kind of fall short when it comes to taking damage, but given all the glass over the damn thing, I'm not surprised. But it definitely does have some good traits, such as the turret, the two turrets actually having surprisingly good coverage, which will obviously be present in the gameplay, but, well, I want to kind of talk about it a little bit more. So, as you can see by the X-ray, we have a 3-man crew on board this aircraft. We have 2 gunners and 1 pilot. Unfortunately, though, this aircraft lacks armor protection, so as you'll see in the gameplay, the moment this thing starts taking damage, it's going to fall apart. And given how vulnerable these BMW engines are to fires, don't expect to be surviving very long, is all I'll say. So let's go over the guns. So I'm going to point this out straight away. The guns appear to be incorrectly modelled. I don't know a huge amount about Swedish guns, but I very much doubt they'd be using German MG15s, these seem to be, because of the fire rate alone is already throwing me off. But these are 8mm KSP M2237Rs, that is a very long-winded name for a machine gun. But both of these guns have pretty good coverage area. Obviously the rear gunner does have more ammunition than the nose gunner. But as you'll notice on the horizontal guidance, this front gun and the rear gun have very, very good coverage. As you can see there, 110 degrees. Now, obviously you can't shoot through the tail, which of course you'll see in the gameplay as well. But these two guns, even though they don't have the biggest hitting power, they do definitely have the coverage to keep you able to, shoot at stuff. And it is very useful. And of course, with this gun naturally pointing down, it can also shoot down at ground targets quite effectively. Unfortunately, though, with it being a seaplane, you can't shoot downward because, obviously, this plane was not designed with that in mind. Some seaplanes, like the Catalina, did have that, but of course, this one doesn't. So, of course, back to the engines, because, well, we obviously talked about how vulnerable they are to fires. When they are spaded, they have 961 horsepower and 810 horsepower when you're not on web. Not bad, but of course, this is a rather large aircraft with 2 humongous floats, so the drag is noticeable. But of course, with it being quite vulnerable to fires, you do have to consider this. Now, the fuel tanks, they are also vulnerable, but to be brutally honest, people don't tend to shoot at these. Some people do, and you can put out fires with this, but of course, the damage, if you're stock especially, will be too much for the plane to handle, and you won't make it back to base. So just bear that in mind. But overall, it's not actually as bad as I originally thought it was going to be. I will say that. But it's still not the best. And obviously, with it being just a carbon copy of what is essentially a better plane without its better metrics, so to speak, it is one that just really makes me think we could have had a bit better for this plane. It could have been just a little bit better if Gaijin would have put the time into it and not copy and pasted the friggin' machine gun and all that, but, Going over to the modifications, as you'll see, it doesn't actually take that long to spade it, and, well, you'll see that in the spade table. But you start out with two 250 kilogram bombs. These are not enough for a base, neither is the 500, but the 500 gives you a bit more points. So if you want to get some more points, get the 500 early, but to be brutally honest, you don't really need it. These bombs cannot kill a base, so just stick with the 250s until the end and then just unlock the 500 and let it sit there, really. You also do get access to a torpedo, which, given Sweden doesn't really have anything right now in terms of a navy, this won't be used very much, and in the low tier maps, especially not. I suppose you could mess around with this thing in custom battles, but I digress. And as you'll see, it is stored inside the bomb bay of the aircraft, so you're safe from that new mechanic where you can shoot at planes, bombs, and stuff, and watch them go kaboom. But overall, the overall statistics of it on paper don't seem that great, but of course its maneuverability is quite good, and the guns do cover quite a good area. But obviously, with them just being single guns, they're not going to be hitting too hard, so just bear that in mind. Personally, though, if you do want to play a low-tier Swedish bomber for whatever reason, there are better options. I would arguably say the B3C is just a better plane because it's got a better bomb load. It does obviously go a bit higher in BR, but to me, this is just a better bomber. And if you want to play as a bomber that can also work as a fighter, you have 3 B-17s to pick from. I mean, there's no contest here. I mean, if you want the lowest one, the S-17, which is also a hydroplane, funny enough, it's still a good option, and of course does have some pilot-controlled guns as well. It doesn't have a big bomb load, but it more than makes up for that with its maneuverability and its capability. I also have reviews on these bombers as well, same with the B3C, so please do feel free to go check them out. But without further ado, I'm going to move us on to the Spade Table, and as I say, if you want to skip ahead just to the gameplay so you can skip that bit, that's completely fine. Timestamps in the description below. Anyway, I will see you all on the table. See you shortly. And welcome to the table. For those that have skipped ahead, this is what I do with my reviews when it comes to tech tree vehicles. I write down everything that's important, so as you can see up there, air kills, ground kills, assists, death, etc. And of course, SL and RP gain. And in the case of an aircraft, base bombs. Tanks are, it's been a while since I've done a tech review, so I think for tanks it's caps. On the table instead of obviously base bombing, because you're not going to be base bombing in a tank unless you're flying an Antonov A40, but with like a bomb strapped underneath it or something, but you know. So of course the Y is yes and the N is no, so that should give a clear indication of how the matches went. And of course, with it only being 3 matches to Spade the plane, it is just something to obviously just look at really. So I'm going to talk about all 3 matches because obviously they were all very different, obviously, with how they went. But of course, Battle 1 was 1 air kill, 0 ground kills, 0 assists. I did die in that match. 1318 SL, 1261 RP with 0.212 base bombs dropped. Of course, that is with the stock bomb load, same with this match. Battle 2 was 2 air kills, 1 ground kill, 0 assists, did die, 1965 SL, 1546 RP with 0.043 base bombs dropped. This is the match you're going to be seeing, which is Battle 2. And finally, the match 2 finished Spade in the plane, because I only needed 400 RP to do it, was 1 air kill, 0 ground kills, 1 assist, did not die, 1900 SL, 2184 RP, and that is the match where I got the 500 kilogram bomb. So as you can see, it's a little bit higher. Even though some might think that I'm dropping 2 bombs, so it's bigger than 1 single bomb, the 500 kilogram has 0.15 or 0.15 kilograms more explosive, so it just adds up. But of course, it only gets a few more points, so just bear that in mind. It's better to just stick with a stock bomb load throughout the Spade, to be honest. But overall, this was not a bad Spade, say, like, how I thought it was going to go. But obviously, in my personal opinion, I would rather stick with something like the B3C if I wanted to do some low-tier Swedish bombing for whatever reason. And if I wanted to go a bit more creative with like a fighter sort of bomber, you'd pick a B-17 over this thing any day of the week. Whilst it is fun, and obviously it is another seaplane to add to the tally, because I love seaplanes myself, it is just something that you have to consider. And if you really want to fly a Swedish floatplane, just fly the S-17. It's so much more fun. And if you go back and watch my review on that from a few years ago, you'll see exactly what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to head you over to the gameplay now. I really hope you enjoyed seeing the T2 obviously covered in this review, and I will see you all on the next one. Well, a little fun fact about those who have just unlocked this plane. The machine guns in the back are supposed to be Swedish, but as you can see, they are German. Because yes, Gaijin were that lazy when it comes to making this plane. They didn't even bother to change the machine guns. Not even the nose gun's different, which is just embarrassing. Really quite sad when you think about it. Unfortunately, I've missed out on bombing some bases because this thing's not very fast. But, I mean, at least we got to bomb a base and get next to no tonnage, but it's if the bomb reaches it before the F3F does. Because the F3F has bombs on as well. Well, I'm going to make my way down now. My first match in this thing went pretty well. This one's been rather quiet so far because we've had no interceptions or anything. But yeah, this plane is a bit underwhelming, as you might expect. You know it's kind of bad when I'd even say the B3C is just a better plane to like use. And when you have to say that a B3C is a better plane, you're kind of clutching at straws. There's no sugarcoating it. But I will say, like, it does have some good metrics. Like, it is relatively maneuverable for how big it is. It's got a decent rate of dive for a seaplane. And it's not too bad. Like, I've seen worse, but it could be better. Right, I need to drop this bomb as the AA is going to nuke me. Because if you don't know, there's a new thing with the anti-aircraft. They like nuking planes with bombs on for some reason. I don't know why. It's part of Gaijin's new code. And because it's Gaijin, they kind of broke it. So that's why I'm getting rid of the bomb early, and hopefully... Yep, we got the tank. Nice. And the freaking Goshawk just binned it. Wonderful. So now we're going to have to try and fight off as much as we can. Because these guns are kind of ass, I will say. But, like, it is maneuverable for what it is, I will say. But obviously with no gunners underneath, it will be quite tricky to do things like this. Obviously because they're Swedish guns, they're not very good. They may look German, but they're not. Where's he gone? There he is. Need to focus more on that one. There's that many freaking planes right now. It's just completely not in my favour, but I'd rather try and do something than sit with my thumb up my backside. Critical. God, the machine guns really want to jam. Like, jeez. Let's put the nose down and get some speed. Hopefully he's jammed his guns and he's going for the ram. That gives me plenty of time to kill him. I think he has jammed his guns. There we go, that's a fire. That's what the AP bullets can do. Right, Sven, hold your fire. Good lad. We're not going to be able to outrun them because, well, this thing can barely outrun its own shadow. That's how slow it is. Scratch one. And now we've got half of the... I don't even want to say, like, Axis Air Force, because, like, there is a Japanese A5M there, but then we've got a 112 and two I-16s. Obviously, one I-16's broken off, but surprisingly, we're actually outrunning, and there goes that I-16. Sweet. Because we damaged him earlier. We're actually outrunning the A5M, but I think he's got engine damage. We're not outrunning the I-16, though, so let's put the nose down and see if we can. I know we can't. That's a spoiler alert. Hopefully the German one's just like the 115C1 is just better, because then I actually have a cannon in the front to defend myself. And yeah, one bullet from the I-16 and we are on fire. I think that's an engine fire as well. Yeah, it is. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Can we try and take down one of them before we die? They're going for the engines. They know what they're doing. Fair play, guys, if you know what you're doing. And there goes the wing, but I think we got that I-16's engine. Come on. Give me some more. No, we've not got it. I think he might be done, though. Not the best result, but it's probably the best I'm going to get out of this thing. That's for sure. Overall, though, if you really want to fly a low-tier Swedish plane, just fly the B-3C or one of the B-17s. You'll have a lot more fun.